I'm going to introduce our first speaker. We've got Lena Calabria. She is the co-founder and COO from Bellroy, and she's going to be talking about building a DTC brand on Amazon. Thank you, Lena, for being here.
No problem. Hey, Jill, how are you going?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, really nice to join you guys. So would you like me to hop over to my deck and then sort of extend on some of those ideas that you talked about?
Yes, we'll start with your deck and then we'll lead into the discussion part.
Brilliant, let's do
All
it.
you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, how does that look?
Perfection.
Excellent. Yeah, so look, I think Jill, you've given a very good high-level summary of what I'm going to be talking about, and so hopefully as I go through the slides, you'll get a little bit of an introduction into Bellroy, and then a little bit of an explanation about why we sell on Amazon, how we do make it brand relevant, and then some of the interesting things that we're experiencing in the current environment that might be useful for the people who are choosing to stick with Amazon. And I'm very keen to hear what the counter position is as well. So I'll dive straight in from there. So I'm from a company and COO and co-founder of a company called Bellroy. We started 10 years ago with a mission to help the world carry better. But we started from the perspective of men's wallets with a very small and discreet set of products, and then moved to phone cases, and then sort of decided that our carry mission would do even better again, expanded out of the pocket and out into the world. And so we now sell a large range of bags and work accessories, slings, those sorts of things. And I guess the other thing that's sort of relevant to our product story is where do we sell? So Bellroy.com, our own channel, and I guess as a very early DTC brand is really a key channel for us. But then we also view the channels that we sell to as well as the digital marketplaces. So Amazon, obviously a very key one, but also just a couple of them there, 3 of them there that we sell to in Asia. But then also distributors and retailers around the world. And I was telling Jill the other day that I think 10 years ago, DTC hadn't quite existed as an acronym. And so we really began before DTC existed and sort of grew into that a little bit. But we're not just direct to consumer from Bellroy.com. We do think that a bunch of different channels really work. And I guess in particular, our sales philosophy is that the place that we innovate is on our product. It's where we employ designers and developers, but we stay really agile on our sales channels, and we focus on being where the customer wants us to be. And some customers feel really confident to buy directly from a brand, so from Bellroy.com, our website. Some customers really love particular retailers, so Huckberry is an example, and they want to go direct to the retailer. But there is a really relevant customer set who want to buy directly from Amazon. They're Amazon customers. They often buy most of their things from Amazon, and they're really comfortable with the degree to which it's a known experience. And so we feel like our brand really exists in the products that we make. And then our job is to make sure we're selling product where the customer actually wants to buy it. That led us in 2013 to launch an Amazon store. And since then, it's grown to be about a quarter of our US sales. Ordinarily, we really just very comfortably say, yeah, we want to sell where customers want to shop. In the current climate, that has a little bit become where customers can actually shop, because a lot of that third channel, those retailers, are no longer able to sell. They've closed their doors, unfortunately, at the moment. So I think the first question that brands, especially in the DTC space, really ask themselves is, when they're selling on Amazon, how do I stay true to my brand values? And how does it not become an Amazon owned experience? And so I thought the first thing I'd do in answering that question is show for you guys a comparison of, on the left, of the Bellroy website. And you can sort of see that we've got a carrying it since 2010 campaign running. We've got some products featured. And then over on the right, what we're running for our Amazon landing page. And you can see that while there is some information at the top that kind of guides people towards being on Amazon, actually we're able to create quite a brand experience that matches what we're doing on our homepage. And so I think aesthetically, you can really have the Amazon experience match whatever it is that feels really relevant to your brand. I guess in addition to that, though, there are a few other things that were really relevant for Bellroy staying relevant to brand. One of the things that we're quite controlling of is discounting. We don't do it very often at all. We do a Black Friday sale and maybe one other, but that's all. And so it was really important for us that Amazon was not the place that you went to buy cheap Bellroy product. And so in 2013, when we decided to go live on Amazon, we made, I guess, the challenging decision of updating our retailer terms to have them not be able to sell on Amazon. And so we would be the people who would supply product if someone bought Bellroy via Amazon. And I guess the way that you can really make sure you're achieving that is by keeping a good watch for all your products on what percentage of the buy box you're watching. That might just be the obvious, you know what to do there. And maybe that doesn't mean anything. And I think if not, Google will definitely help you, or Amazon help pages. But my tip would be that you need to be winning a really high percentage of the buy box so that it is your brand that's controlling the customer experience when they buy, and not somebody else. Different people will have different strategies there, but this is something that's important to Bellroy's brand. The second thing that we do that is important to our brand is that we have chosen to stay on seller central rather than vendor central. We like to own the stock and the supply of stock out into the Amazon customers. And I guess what we're quite cautious of is that we don't want something oversold into Amazon and then Amazon discounting it because they're overstocked in it, which would be a really reasonable thing for their algorithms to do, but doesn't feel like a thing that is relevant to brand. And so we prefer to own the stock ourselves. And if something's overstocked, we stay patient and we don't push and discount. I guess once you're satisfied that your brand values are protected, whatever they are, then I think there are some optimizations that really work for us that I would recommend. And a thing that really resonates with our brand is that we like it to be that we're featured for Amazon Prime customers. We think those are sort of a higher level commitment customer. They're more engaged with Amazon. And so we choose to use FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. Which means that our stock is in the Amazon warehouses and that we use the Amazon logistics service. And that gives us access to the Prime audience. And that really works for us and is a thing that I think makes a lot of sense to do. Ordinarily, this is a very straightforward thing because Amazon have a bunch of warehouses, many, and great logistics operations. Currently, things are a little bit under strain though, and this sort of gets me to that tip that we've been working on that Jill was talking about. Since COVID, really our experience has been that obviously Amazon's supply chain has been inundated selling and excellently a lot of the essential products that people are really hunting for at the moment. And so we're finding that a lot of our products that within the FBA, the Fulfilled by Amazon network would have shipped in maybe 1 or 2 days, sometimes are showing shipping times of up to 30 days. And that is hitting our conversions. And so we can't really just sort of sit by and let that happen. But what we've worked on and integrated is flexibility so that we can flip our products between being merchant fulfilled, which is that we ship them from our own 3PL warehouses, or Amazon fulfilled, so they get shipped from the FBA network. And we use a team of people who monitor our products and how they sell. So yeah, definitely with the person who had one person dedicated to Amazon, I would say that we use sort of fluctuating team of 3 to 5 people at different times working on our Amazon strategy. But we monitor each day which products are shipping quickly and not, and change them between merchant fulfilled and Amazon fulfilled to make sure that we're offering customers a really good shipping time. And that would be a hack that I would encourage people to look out for, is if shipping times are not working for them at the moment, move back to your own fulfillment to make sure that your customer are seeing quick shipping times. I think that's important for conversion. I think this hack is going to be really useful even afterwards, because I think it allows you to then implement a strategy of having your fast selling products through the FBA network, but then you're so slower sellers that you don't want a lot of inventory out in the world. You can fulfill yourself, and we'll definitely be keeping this switch strategy even once we're in a post-COVID environment or a higher performance FBA environment for non-essential products. I think overall, if I was to leave you with one final idea, it would be this one, which is that ultimately, I think for any merchant selling on Amazon, the good news and the bad news, however you take it, is that Amazon prioritizes its customers, which is great because they're also the merchants' customers. But Amazon does not prioritize merchants as their customers. We're part of their product. And so I think that you always need to keep that in mind when you work out what your strategy is going to be for Amazon. Know that Amazon will always prioritize your customers, and then you need to work out the strategy that you use to say brand relevant and be offering the kind of service that you want to customers. So yeah, that's sort of my quick summary of what I think is relevant for Bellroy and Amazon, and hopefully that sort of sparks some interesting thoughts and questions and conversations.
That was great. Thank you so much. Definitely, I'm going to start asking with my questions, but definitely please chime in if you have questions for Lena. We've got a few more minutes here. But talk to me about when you first, decided to go there with Amazon. What were you seeing? First of all, what was your presence on the site prior to you kind of owning?
Yeah, this is a really good question. What we were seeing at the time, back in 2013, we were selling on our website, bellroy.com, and we had a whole lot of great retailers. And what we were seeing was that some of those retailers were really buying a lot of stock from us, and kind of a lot more than we really expected they would be buying given the size of their stores. And what we saw was that what they were actually doing was having their own retail strategy and then an Amazon retail strategy. And I think for a while we were in the camp of Amazon's not right for us and not right for our brand. But what we found was that the service that those retailers were giving to customers was not service that we would think was acceptable for our brand. And so we would see a lot of customers on Amazon saying, hey, I've bought this thing from Bellroy, it hasn't shipped for 6 weeks, the customer service is no good. And so what we realized was very quickly, we really didn't have much of a choice. It was a platform that customers wanted to buy from. And if we weren't there controlling the experience, somebody else was going to be there creating the experience. And we didn't like the thing that they were creating. And we really care about our brand. And so we wanted to get in. And so that was the time that we made the decision. When we realized that there was going to be a Bellroy experience on Amazon, and it was either us let other people create that, or we jump in and do that ourselves. And so we went with the jump in strategy and do it ourselves.
Right on. And they can no longer sell your product. And are you left with those reviews on Amazon? Like, are you just stuck with them? Is there anything that you can do about the reviews from back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think that those have so much past now. We're sort of 7 years on, and products innovate and change. So the reviews are sort of no longer relevant. It was a small time. Sometimes we get reviews these days that we feel that we don't want to hang around or don't quite represent what we think is the right experience. But we do always hop in and comment and explain those. We also find that when we think a review is really not fair or true, you can get in touch with Amazon and have that review removed. So that's also available. I mean, on the topic of reviews, we really feel like Amazon is one of the best places for us to get reviews on our product and see what's resonating and what's not. I think the review platform is really excellent.
Awesome. I know, let's talk a little bit about your DTC roots. You were really early on in this whole direct-to-consumer model. Tom had a question. He said, if you were launching a new DTC brand, would you launch on Amazon from the get-go? First of all, share your kind of DTC past, and would love for you to tackle that.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago when we launched, actually, I don't want to make myself age here, but e-commerce was not really a strong, obvious thing that you would do. And so we actually launched the brand expecting that we would be a retail, a wholesale brand that we would primarily sell to wholesalers. And we created a website, but it was just a bit of a sort of crazy thing that you do on the side, not the obvious plan. I think that if I was creating a brand today, I would begin with my own website and not with Amazon, because I do think that there is a deeper level of experience that customers do want. And what we really expect is that customers are doing something like learning more about us on bellroy.com. And then particularly someone like that Prime customer is then going back to Amazon and using the Amazon logistics network that they love and trust to actually do the purchase, which we're very happy with. But I think you probably need some other kind of home destination. If you're launching a DTC brand with that DTC vibe where you want to be talking about what your values are and why you do things, I think you sort of need another home to tell that story.
Yeah, you've described your brand as yourself as being brand precious. Can you talk about that kind of fine line, maybe how you're able to sell on Amazon, how you can be both?
I mean, I think that, so yeah, definitely happy to go with the brand precious, title, that's all good. I think that we want people to have a really cohesive experience when they engage with Bellroy. We don't want you to see Bellroy in one setting and then see us somewhere else and think that just doesn't really look like the same people did that. And so I guess what we really try and do is things like product photography is really consistent across different platforms. The level of customer support that you get on bellroy.com should match the level of customer support you get on Amazon. The kind of freight certainty that you get should be aligned everywhere. And so the kinds of things that we really try and do on bellroy.com. Also, we don't want to train customers to kind of hunt around for discounts. And we don't want to train customers to go to Amazon to go for a discount. If something is discounted on bellroy.com, it'll be discounted on Amazon as well, if it's perhaps a last chance to buy product. But we don't want to be encouraging this sort of hunting for bargains on Amazon attitude. For us, it's also a premium place to buy. And we want to attract a premium customer in that place as well.
Yeah, tied to that, Kristen had a question about sales and discounting. She said, do you participate in Prime Day? And if so, are there any implications with your other retailers?
Yeah, Prime Day is interesting. We began sort of in that theme of like the brand preciousness maybe as well. We really didn't actually discount anything ever for about the first 6 years of selling. So that's how much we wanted to not have customers think they could find a cheaper version somewhere else. We then moved into Black Friday and found that we could have that experience sort of resonate. Prime Day is a place that we've dipped our toes, but we haven't dived in fully. I think it was Kristen you said who'd asked that question. It's a very astute question because our experience has been that Black Friday is something that our retailers understand we will do and don't feel threatened by us doing that. Prime Day is a place where we've experienced a lot more pushback from our retailers. And so we've discounted some styles for Prime Day last year, but actually primarily most of our product is not on sale on Prime Day. We do find that actually we get, by discounting just a few styles, and generally they're the ones that are sort of coming out of range at that time, we actually find that our whole range sells really well. But we're pretty cautious not to discount too much on Prime Day.
Right on. Time for one more question. I know both you and Erin have compared Amazon to Alibaba, Tmall, the whole. You sell on many platforms. Can you tell me? I think that you said that your brand control of your brand or your brand messaging, your image, is more in tune with what you would like on Alibaba compared to Amazon. Can you talk about the limitations on Amazon, or what would take it to the next level to make it more?
And I think what's interesting is that Tmall felt to us like it a little bit had the lead on brand experience, because in China, it felt like sales through your own channel was just a thing you didn't really do. So everyone did the equivalent of selling on Amazon, and nobody really did the equivalent of selling on the bellroy.com in China. And so I think Tmall was much earlier on structured as a brand experience and a brand website. And it feels like Amazon has been catching up with that, I would say. I think they're almost where Tmall is at now, and it's pretty close. But they've been playing catch up. Some of the things that are a little harder to do that, you know, we do on our website that sometimes, well, you can't do on Amazon, so it's not a sometimes, is you can't link out to other sites. So you can't share perhaps a YouTube clip of a review of your product, which is something that we like to do. You can't annotate your photos in quite the same way that we would like to do it. And sometimes we do on bellroy.com. And so there are some restrictions to how you present your product that can make it a little bit harder to share a full depth of, you know, breadth of information around a product.
Lena, this has been wonderful. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much for being here. And we are going to move right along. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring up our next speaker, our next guest. We've got our friend Aaron Luo he is the founder and CEO of Kara. He's going to be talking to sell or not to sell on Amazon. And currently, teaser, he does not. So let's welcome Aaron. There he is.
Hey, can you
Hi.
hear me now?
Welcome. We can hear you.
Thank you. Sorry, I think I was having some technical issues too.
That's okay. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to jump in. You can take it away with your slides, and then I'm going to follow up with some questions from the audience.
That sounds great. I'm going to go start sharing, and you let me know, Jill, whether you can see my screen or not. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you for having me. And I'm just going to put this to full screen mode. There you go. Great. Hey everyone, thanks for having me. And Jill, I thought that was a great intro that you made before in terms of the key points, I think, that we're going to touch on. And you know, what I thought we would do, at least from our perspective, is we're going to walk the audience through maybe kind of our journey on how, you know, who we are, how we think about ourselves, how we started first not on Amazon, then start selling through Amazon, and then kind of our decision to ultimately stay out of Amazon for now, and kind of how we thought about going, you know, how we thought about Amazon in general. But just kind of give everybody an overview in terms of who we are. So we are, you know, we're DTC, but I would be more specific in calling ourselves digital native. You know, there's different terms out there, but I think digital native, there's a slight distinction, at least how we think about it, between native digital and DTC, which I will kind of explain a little bit down the road and how we see the difference. We're based out of New York, and you know, the key products and the value proposition that we offer is really to introduce, you know, handbags that are functional, that are well made, and then somewhat of you know, affordable luxury price points in terms of how we go to market. And you know, we've grown pretty rapidly, I think, in the last 4.5 years since we've been around. You know, the brand really grew about 300% year over year without significant venture capital funding. And you know, a lot of it's all done through our website, and then, you know, some of our retail partners, which I'm going to go into in a minute. But I thought maybe the way we start is by kind of talk a little bit about how we thought about Amazon. And I promise I'm not affiliated with Amazon. It certainly don't work for them. But, you know, there's a lot of amazing things that we saw about Amazon when we first started. And this was back in 2016, 2017. Like I said, the brand started really officially in 2015. We were selling in our own e-commerce and through some of our wholesale partners for the first 2 years of the brand. And then in 2017, 2018 is when we start contemplating and explore different platforms like Amazon and see whether it makes sense for us to be on it or not. And Amazon, it's a beast. I mean, they are giant, and I think there's a lot of good stats out there that everybody can have access to. But between 2018 and 2019, there are just a tons of users that are on Amazon. I mean, we looked at some of the numbers between those 2 years, that more than 190 million people were shopping on Amazon, at least browsing on Amazon, which if you put in perspective, it's bigger than the entire population of a country like Russia. So it's a great platform to be in. We know there's a lot of eyes on it, and if you really kind of break it down a little more and look at the stats, right? There's a bunch of things that we loved about Amazon when we first started exploring the different platforms that we want to be in as a native digital brand. So it has a really trusted platform, similar to other platforms like Shopify or a few other platforms out there. It's something that allows brands to not invest too heavily on your tech stack or on your tech platform, and something that you can somewhat plug and play if you're going to start selling through a platform like Amazon. Their Prime, it's very, very powerful in the sense that obviously the advantages and the benefits that provide to the customers, it's huge if you are a Prime customer. And then, if you look at their AOV, the average order value on Amazon, I think it's actually pretty high in comparison with some other platforms that we look at. So, and what's interesting is that, when we looked at some of the data back in 17 and 18, hold on, flipping through this too quick. The average order value is actually north of about 150. Now, the product category, I think, would vary, the AOV would vary depending on the product category you look at, but we thought that the overall AOV was great. And then, on the kind of the customer experience side, again, having a solid e-commerce platform was very attractive to us. Their FBA, their supply chain, it's solid, and as Lena alluded to, world class, in certain aspect of it. And then, they do promote third-party sales, right? So we looked at all this information. It's kind of like, wow, it's a great platform. Why wouldn't we be on it, right? And so for 2018, we did start testing selling through Amazon. And, initially with maybe our older products. So we didn't kind of jump right in with all our entire assortment. We first started testing the platform, only with our older, past season products. And start seeing some, good results. But truth to be told, wasn't as great as we initially thought, given all of the stats that we knew about Amazon. So that's when, me and my team, we kind of sat down and took a step back and tried to understand, who we are as a brand, what's our value proposition, and ultimately, do we want to be on the platform? And it's interesting, when we sat down and started exploring that question, we certainly knew, based on everything I just mentioned, that Amazon are uniquely positioned in retail for everything I just mentioned. But the question that we always ask is this the right platform for a fashion brand? And we kind of went one step deeper, right? And ask, is it really the right brand or right platform for native digital brands or digital native brands? And here's why I think we are unique. So, if you look at the history of commerce or e-commerce or retail in general, especially for the last 10, 15 years, before the age of internet and social media and technology, you have all this, what we call monolithic giant brands that have tons of scale, and they leverage their scale and their supply chain distribution network to tightly control over and choke over their competitions in their respective markets. So, and you can think of we think of a lot of legacy brands are like that within your specific segment or category, they just, because of their scale, because they own the media, or because of a number of different things before internet came along, they just had a lot more advantage over smaller brands. But then you fast forward to today, especially in the early 2010, I think there was a digital evolution when it comes to retail. So, the way I think about native digital brands, or the way we classify ourselves, are really kind of dictated by three pillars. One is we're digital first. So everything we do, all the storytelling we do, all the customer experience, everything comes through digital. Matter of fact, when we first started the brand, besides being a product and a design brand, we think of ourselves as a technology brand. We think of ourselves, how do we actually lay out our tech roadmap and how do we build our tech stack in order to tell the digital story with our customers. Vertical integration, probably it's one of the key areas that I differentiate ourselves with other DTC brands. So the way I think about vertical integration, there's two portions of it, right? There's the back end, which is more design, supply chain, and there's the front end, which is more distribution, sales, advertising, and so on and so forth. I think if you look at DTC brands, they are probably a bit more focused on the front end in terms of how they sell and how they distribute their products, and less on their back end. Matter of fact, if you talk to some legacy brands, and I'm thinking Nike, there's papers actually that you can read from Harvard Business Review and so on and so forth that makes the point that why they think, or legacy brands think, that vertical integration is not good and it's not cost effective. That they don't really own the back end supply chain, but they own more the front end distribution and sale. I think what makes native digital brands like us different is the fact that we are vertical integrated from start to end. And then the fact that we're customer service obsessed, and that we evolved the entire brand around creating the affinity with our customers, which I'm going to touch on in a bit too. I think that's the key thing at the end of the day that differentiates us from maybe like a DTC brand, and why perhaps we start thinking that being on Amazon might not give us the tools and the vehicles that we need in order to create that affinity with our customers. So here's the three pillars that I just mentioned before. Let me just go in there a little deeper, just so that I can explain ultimately why we decided to move away from Amazon. Look, for us, it was all about identifying a category like handbag in this case, and understanding kind of, back in 2015, understanding whether the customers within this category have a strong affinity for a specific set of brands within the price points that we're going after. Luxury customers are a little different. True luxury customers, I think they operate under certain different cadences that we knew that we didn't want to really get into. Our price point, our AOV, it's anywhere between $300 to $600. So that puts us more in the contemporary price points. And, when we started kind of the journey in 2015, 16, 17, 18, we kind of asked the question, are the core group that we're going after in terms of servicing, is she really loyal to a set of big brands that are already kind of dominating the market, or are they somewhat passive or agnostic, right? Because I think the value proposition, or the opportunity that we have as a brand, is that if we determine, and ultimately we did, but if we determine that for the customers that we're going after, they're somewhat passive or agnostic towards specific brands within our category, that means that it gives brands like ours an opportunity to actually go and speak to her with products, with our storytelling, with everything that's involving around brand, in order to capture her, so that we can take her from being a passive agnostic from other brands and become more of a core or loyalist to our brand. So that's kind of and we in turn talk a lot about the definition of affinity, of, can we actually create affinity with our core customers, especially because we determined that a lot of them are not loyal to a specific set of brands within the handbag category. And ultimately, when we started the brand, we determined that we felt that, there were enough agnostic and passive customers in this category that it was worth for us to actually go and service her. One of the things we always say is, we launched the brand with two products, really. It's our studio bag, and still until today, it's one of the best-selling products that we have. And what it does, it provides versatility to her lifestyle. So we were one of the first brands in the market to start selling convertible bags that actually have different modes depending on where she goes. So you can wear it as a backpack, as a crossbody, or as a satchel. So if you go into the gym, or office or date, you can actually exchange the different modes within the bag, and then the bag will also come with different compartments that you can actually use. So when we kind of start looking at Amazon under these kind of cadences and these kind of lenses, we felt that certainly they had a good platform, and from the e-commerce standpoint, and Lena alluded this before too. Look, we didn't have any issues with how we were able to present the product in front of the customers. Matter of fact, I think over the years, Amazon got a lot better in terms of giving the flexibility to the third-party vendors to allow you to somewhat tailor your store so that you can actually have similar look and feel on your website. But that's just one component of it, right? I mean, for us, what we felt that truly, if we want to own her or own the customer base, vertical integration was the key, right? So it not only that we design and own the global supply chain, but the last mile in terms of distribution, that was important to us. The packaging, the actual delivery, the cycle time, all the pre and post delivery follow-ups that we do, all that, we just felt that Amazon didn't really have the right tool sets yet for the third parties in order to tell that story. And then, in terms of customer service, similar story, I think, we do love the review aspect that Amazon provides. I think it's democratic. I think, there's a lot of great parts to it, but, it doesn't give you a lot of flexibility to play with the tech stack a little bit, as far as understanding that information, how to leverage that information so you can perhaps follow up with them or retarget them. There's few aspects of kind of that customer service aspect that we felt that it was missing. So ultimately, I think if we ultimately felt that in order to tell kind of the start to end story for her and own that affinity or create affinity with our core customers, that we really needed the supply chain from start to end to be fully integrated. And, we just didn't want to take a chance to actually not having that kind of control in terms of the brand storytelling. So that's kind of our journey in terms of how we started now with Amazon, then work with Amazon for a majority of 18, and then 2019 is when we pulled out. I think if I leave the audience with maybe 4 things, here's kind of the 4 things we thought about, which I think is some food for thought as you contemplating whether you are starting a brand or whether you are an existing brand and trying to think whether it makes sense for you to be on Amazon. I think those are the 4 things that we usually kind of use to think about whether we should be on a platform like Amazon. First of all, I think it's very product specific. I think, we feel that with Amazon, you have a lot of value customers. And what I mean with the value customers is that they're somewhat agnostic with the product category itself, but they're very price sensitive. So if you are, let's say, in the basic business, right? So if you are in underwear or lingerie or t-shirts, things that somewhat is less kind of governed by design to a certain extent, and something that is consumable, that's actually something that you will go through in a periodic basis, and somewhat price sensitive, I think Amazon's a great place for you to be in. But for brands like ours, where ultimately we lead by design and by customer experience, and if you feel like you might not have that kind of flexibility through a platform like Amazon, you want to reconsider that. Plus, we're the type of products that don't compete based on value or based on pricing. Even though part of our brand is that we make the bags in the same luxury or same factory as some of the world's leading luxury brands, we don't really emphasize on the value play when we have the kind of the brand storytelling with our customers. So, but again, if that's kind of your value proposition, I think you should seriously consider Amazon. And the second thing is value proposition, right? So again, what are you competing in? For us, we're competing on creating the affinity, creating the connection with our customer, and leading by unique designs. We always say our creative team, their job is actually tell our customers things that they need before the customers even know they need it, right? So for that, you need creativity, and you need, you lead, you are essentially telling customers to pay a premium because of your designs. And again, if that's the value proposition, then you probably need a platform that's a little more flexible, or a business that's a little more flexible to tell the story with your customer, creating the connection with your customer. So that's the second thing. And then the number three is the unit economic and scale. I think this actually was an important point for us, mainly because I think if we were having this conversation 5 years ago, probably Amazon will have a lot more edge over native digital brands, just because of their scale and distribution. They're able to gain a lot of efficiencies from a cost standpoint. I think in today's age, we're working with a network of 3PLs that are very cost effective and competitive with kind of the Amazon prices. So again, but it goes back to kind of understanding unit economics, right? So if you are in a basic business, or if you're selling a commodity, and you are more margin sensitive, then you probably want to look into your supply chain costs a little more in detail. So that's the third thing that I think is important to consider, whether you should sell through a platform like Amazon or direct. And then the last thing is customer affinity. I think by far this is the most important part for us, is vertical integration. Again, if you are DTC, and in our opinion, I think DTC can afford to be a little more front-end centric, meaning that they can focus a little more on being nimble and how they sell in the front end and find the best way to sell. If that's the case, I think selling on the platform like Amazon has its own merit. But again, if you fully want to own the customer experience and the brand storytelling and that vertical integration, it has to start from the time you start designing to the time you start manufacturing, shipping, last mile shipping to the customer, and then post purchase. So, ultimately, once again, we just kind of felt that in order to own the entire supply chain or the value chain, I would say, that we needed just a little more flexibility. So I didn't keep track of time, but maybe I'm over a little bit, Jill. But I'm gonna just stop here and see if you have any questions, or if the audience has any questions.
You're forgiven. That was great. There are a couple of questions from the audience. I think we're going to ask you about 2 questions, and then we will cut it off. But I think this is a really great question, just because the direct-to-consumer model, the model is based on cutting out the middleman. So when you did sell on Amazon, like, how did you balance out margins, on Amazon versus DTC?
Yeah, so again, we didn't really play too much of the value play, in terms of pricing. It is true that I think if you think about native digital brands or DTC brands, it's all about, giving a better price to the customers ultimately. But again, we knew from the get-go that we were going to have wholesale partners. So the way we actually priced our products is that we give a little bit of buffer there, because at the end of the day, we are still working with a lot of our great wholesale partners, right? So if you look at our kind of wholesale distribution, we do work with Nordstrom, we do work with Urban Outfitters, we do work with, smaller, more kind of luxury boutiques. We're very selective in terms of our distribution, because I think we don't want to over distribute our products, and we control supply pretty carefully. But in terms of the margins, it was really never an issue, just because we started the brand knowing that we needed to give ourselves a little bit of room if we were going to go out there and do wholesale. So with Amazon, that wasn't really an issue, I guess.
Yeah, and just last question from me, looking at your wholesale partners now, would love to know kind of what makes a fitting partner for you and your brand. Maybe tie that to Amazon. What would Amazon need to do to kind of win you over at this point?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything specific that Amazon is doing or not doing to work with native digital brands like ours. I think ultimately, for us, it's more a question of a platform versus direct. Right, is that, part of the reason why we work with some of our wholesale partners, it's not distribution. Sure, there's some of that, and we do find that customers do discover us through those platforms, but a lot of it's also prestige, right? Credibility and kind of associate our name next to certain smaller luxury boutiques is important to us. So again, I think for us, we ultimately made a decision to stay away from platforms, just because we want to own that vertical integration, in terms of owning the called chain of values. But it's not necessarily specific to Amazon. Now in Asia, you alluded to this before, I think we do work in Tmall partners, and we do work with Alibaba, but that's because, to Alina's point before, in Asia, they have less of a shopping habit on individual brands website directly versus the shopping habit is actually go through big platforms like a Tmall or a Taobao. So but in the US, I would say, again, the ultimate decision, it's not against Amazon, it's more against going through a platform like Amazon.
Yes, got it. Well, changing consumer habits, behavior,
Yes.
maybe it will be all platforms moving forward. We shall see. Anyway, Erin, I hope you join us in our working group. I hope you all join us in the working group. We are going to wrap up this portion of the event. Thank you all. And be looking for the link. I think it should pop up here any second. And we will reconvene in 2 seconds. Bye.